Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is the Healer's Transformation, and I'm really excited to be spending some time today with Dr. Asher Beckwitt. Asher, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to introduce you to everyone. Dr. Asher Beckwitt is a survivor, a public speaker, a certified trauma energetics coach, a researcher, and author of the upcoming book, Healing Stories 8 Steps to Self Healing After Sexual Abuse. So thanks for being here again, Asher. I'm really excited to be able to introduce you to people in my community and really share all of the amazing things that you're doing with your previous background and as well as the information and skills that you now have as a trauma energetics coach. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we like to talk about transformations, and I would love to know and have you share with the audience what was the personal experience and transformation that you went through that led you to where you're at today?
Well, thank you again. And I appreciate this opportunity to be able to tell my story, but also to talk about how my story has transformed me as a person and now has led me down this path. So many, many years ago, when I was 15, I was actually sexually abused by a same-sex pedophile. And that went on for 4 years. And at the conclusion of that, unfortunately, I was in college when I finally realized that, this was completely wrong and broke things off. And unfortunately, I went home one weekend to get my laundry and do my laundry and things. And I saw an envelope there and I was like, huh, what is this? And so I took it back to school and I opened it up and it was a bank statement. And I saw that this person not only had abused me sexually, but also stole all of my entire life savings from my grandparents. So that was a really huge trauma for me. And I've definitely suffered many, many other forms of trauma, relational traumas, medical traumas, emotional traumas, physical traumas. But the sexual trauma, I have to say, really transforms you on levels that you don't necessarily think about. It literally transforms you in terms of every single piece of you, every single uh, thing that you're doing every day, every single thought that you have, how your thoughts are framed. It's so intrusive that it just violates every part of you. And that is what I have found to be with being a sexual abuse survivor. And so many years went by. I tried many, many, many different types of therapy and all kinds of different things. And I had horrible relationships with people. And after my ex left, I finally got to the point where I started doing some EMDR. And for folks who don't know what that is, it's eye movement, rapid reprocessing and desensitization. All right. Or no, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. There we go. And so I started really heavy into all of that. And that really helped kind of start the ball to truly get rolling on like a personal body kind of sense and mind sense. And I was going twice a week and really processing through all of these memories and things. But when I completed EMDR after 2 years, I found that, like, yeah, it had transformed things and I wasn't as triggered, and that really helped. But then I found you, Kimberly, and I found this program, the Somagetics program, and I was so excited. And I have to say, when I first came, that it was pretty nerve-wracking. I was a little like, oh, this is for me. I don't know what I'm doing. And as soon as I got into it, and the first session that we went into and breakout session, and I started talking to people, it was like, yes, this totally makes sense with like everything in my entire self. And so I have to say, like, some of my transformational moments have come from this program, and it has really set me up to open up myself and my energy. And to be able to really harness all of that energy and realize that I do have control, I do have my autonomy, I do have power to make decisions, and that my body and my nervous system don't have to rule me.
Mhm.
So going through this process has been incredibly transformational to me. And so I don't know if there's any one moment per se, but it's been a process. It's been a process spanned across, a lifetime, but it's also been just a process in this program for the past couple of years now of just really coming back into my body and just observing it and realizing how much control I actually do have and how much power I do have.
Mm. Claiming your power back, and I love the fact that you had done quite a bit of work, in the healing space and lots of different therapists and practitioners, and healing does happen in layers. So you had done quite a bit of groundwork on yourself through the surviving the sexual trauma, as well as some of the earlier childhood developmental traumas, and you were able to, in this program, embody the work in a different, a deeper level, maybe I could
Mhm.
say, a deeper level than you had before. And I love your contribution to this program. We do cover dealing with the nervous system, the energy system. It's not just talk therapy, right? It's working with the whole body, mind, body, spirit kind of work that really helps people to feel whole after the fragmentation of trauma. And when we experience trauma, like you said, especially early childhood trauma, all throughout your whole childhood, as well as into early college years, you had pretty complex trauma. So it took more than just a traditional therapy. Right? It took something that was going to help you be more embodied and also to rewire those trauma patterns. And I love that you share. Thank you for sharing the details of your own personal trauma story, because I know it's so inspiring to hear other people that may have gone through something similar. And frankly, Asher, I don't really hear same sex abuse stories very often. I don't know that I'd ever heard of that before really getting to know you.
Yeah. And it's something that is really critical to realize is that it can happen, that abuse does not discriminate, that abuse can happen between any two people. And just because I was abused by a same-sex person, like I am a lesbian, but that has nothing to do with my sexual orientation. Abuse is abuse. It's about power, it's about control. So the fact that she was the same sex doesn't have anything to do with that. So I think there's two messages we get out of that, which is just that, abuse doesn't discriminate and it doesn't impact necessarily, who you're going to choose as a partner or, your sexual orientation or other things later. And those are two things that people just don't really truly understand.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for sharing it so people can have a better understanding through listening to your experience, and not
Yeah.
only listening to what happened to you, but more especially listening to how you recovered from such complex trauma and how you're thriving now. So I'd really love to hear more, Asher, about what is your life like now that you have done such an amazing job healing, and not only healing yourself, but now you're in a place where you're really actively trying to support others in their healing.
Yeah, so thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about that. So I am in the process and launching a practice that is totally just oriented to people who have experienced sexual abuse. And this is something that doesn't exist as of right now. And I want to back up just for a few minutes to talk about how I got here. So several years ago, I went to a place called Mount Shasta, and I don't know if folks are familiar with it, but it's a mountain in California. And it's known as one of these special vortexes kind of places, high energy places in the United States. And I went there and I took my ex-girlfriend thinking like, okay, we're gonna go, we're gonna celebrate her birthday. This is a place where she's always wanted to go. And so let's go and I'll celebrate with her. Well, when we got there, we went to all kinds of different meditations, and we went to like 3 or 4 meditations a day, which was really intense. And, we would walk around and the place just felt just mystical, almost magical. It's just an incredible, incredible place. And as we were walking around and we were doing these things, like I kept noticing things as I was in the meditations. And historically, I've had kind of a weird kind of relationship with Jesus, right? Because I was raised in a house where my father was Jewish, my mother was Christian, and and then you're coming out and all these things, and all these people are like, oh, Jesus hates you, and it's been used as a way to really hate and to be able to, justify that hate. And so interestingly, when I was in Mount Shasta, Jesus started to come to me during these meditations and things. And it was like the pure form of Jesus, because Jesus is really a healer. Jesus is a giver. And the fact that people, use Jesus's name to commit hate is not the real meaning of Jesus. And so Jesus started coming to me, and I was in this beautiful meditation. I went to a cacao meditation where you like take cocoa beans and you roast them and then you brew them, and then you're like in a meditation for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, like a very, very, very deep state. And I was in there, and Jesus literally was holding his hands above me, almost like a Reiki kind of thing. He didn't put his hands on me, but just right above me, and said to me, like, I'm healing your pain, and kind of just ran his hands up and down, like, I'm healing your pain. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like, we haven't had this kind of relationship before, so where are you coming from and why are you doing this? And it was really interesting. I really felt the pain leaving my body, and it wasn't just, physical pain, like it was all of the emotional pain of everything that I'd gone through for all these years. And then all of a sudden, Jesus like held his hands over my stomach and started almost like infusing my stomach. It almost looked like a zapping, like these gold coming into me. And it was absolutely beautiful and was just infusing me with all of this energy. And then Jesus is like, I'm giving you this so that you can go and help others heal. And then Jesus said to me, I want you to stand up and look at me. So in my meditation, like I stood up and lift your arms up towards me. And as I lifted my arms, I noticed these almost like feather type things attached to my arms. And it was very strange at first. And I was like, what is this? Like, what was in that cacao? Um, but it was these feathers. And Jesus literally looked at me and said, I'm giving you wings so that you can take these wings and grow and heal, and then use that to help others grow and heal. And so over time, the more that I have done this program, the more that I've prayed, the more that I've been doing meditation, the wings have grown and grown and grown over the years, which has been beautiful. And now I'm finally at a point where I feel the wings so large that I just can take them and wrap them around the earth and just embody the earth and hold the earth and help the earth heal. So from that, I have decided and to do this practice, and I was given this message from Jesus, honestly, to pursue the sexual abuse, which I was like, really, man? Like, really? Do we have to go there? Like, that's like the hardest thing. Like, can't we just do this little like medical trauma thing where I became disabled or something else. And she's like, nah, no, I'm sorry. You've you've got to go for like, yeah, the hardest thing because people need it and they need your resources. They need to hear your voice and they need that kind of healing. And so where I am now is I have interviewed 9 people, 9 other survivors for a book, as you mentioned at the beginning, called Healing Stories. And I have focused not on like the what the psychologists say or the mental health care workers say in terms of like you need to heal like this and here are the steps to get yourself there. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great and those are helpful tools. And then you have memoirs on the other hand who have said things like, this is my life and I've been through a horrible life and I've healed. And again, that's great too. All of these things are really wonderful healing techniques and practices and modalities. And what I'm doing is I'm bridging the two. And I am focusing on what survivors are doing in their day to day lives and what healing actually looks like in your day to day life. What is the lived experience? What are the practices that survivors are using in their day to day lives? And what does that even mean? What does that look like? So, from that, I developed what is called the Self Heal program. And it is completely a survivor informed program. And so, for example, it's like safety, evaluation, learning, forgiveness. And then the heal is health, energy, alignment, and love. And within that, I have developed courses. So, for example, like safety is the first step because you can't heal outwardly unless you heal inward first and you feel safe enough being in yourself and don't have your mind that is distracting you or preventing you from healing. So we start there. And so each step has 4 weeks of classes because I want people to slow down. Healing
Mm.
is not a race, healing is a journey. So we've got to slow ourselves down and really walk through the steps in order to be able to truly heal. So each one of those things, it's about an 8-month program, but each one of those steps is 4 weeks. And then in addition to that, I'm forming just really holistic kind of services. And I want to give you a chance to ask any questions before I hit all of the various services.
Mm. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing the self-heal program. I'm excited about that because I know so many people who would really benefit from your program. And I'd love to know, is that something that people can do on their own without any like practitioners or coaches or healers? Is this something that they will be able to do without having any external support?
So we heal in community, right? We're injured in relationship and in interpersonal connection. So that's the only way to truly heal. We have to have that connection and we have to have that community. It's really
Mhm.
essential. So what I do is I have cohorts that I take through these programs and through the courses. And you can just drop in for one course or you can go through the whole 8 courses in 8 months. And so within that, though, you have cohorts for your class so that you can be in touch with your classmates. I encourage people to have buddies, one or more buddies, because again, it's about healing in relationship, healing in community. And it's not something that we can do in isolation. You've got to have other people to heal.
Wonderful. Well, we will definitely put the details for your self-healing program in the show notes. So what else are you up to, Asher?
Great, excellent. Thank you so much. So the courses are really one component, and again, that is completely formed out of survivors' journeys and survivors' steps and strategies and things that they have done. And then I'm opening up a membership called the Healing Hub, which I'm very excited about. And this is where people can have like 24/7 access to resources. There's videos and books and different resources. In fact, Somagetics is listed as a resource. And so I'm real excited about that. And those are just kind of ongoing that people can have. But then twice a month, we do some other things. So one is Ask a Survivor, and that is a live session where folks can come on and they get access to a survivor, me, and potentially some other survivors. Because for survivors to ask survivors questions, that's really important. Like, there are only things that other survivors of sexual abuse will understand that perhaps others are empathetic to, but don't necessarily get. And so years ago, I participated in a wonderful event at a community college where a bunch of kids were able to come and they were able to ask me questions about my experience. And many of them also were survivors. And so we were able to really go into some really deep and intimate details that we couldn't address anywhere else. And they told me, and I kind of get tears in my eyes when I talk about this because it was just so moving. But they came up to me and they told me at the end how meaningful that was to them to be able to ask another survivor these questions and to not feel any shame about doing that. So I want to open that up to people. And so we're going to have Ask a Survivor event. And then during another week, we'll have like a healing together session where folks can come and be a part of more of like a group kind of coaching session where we'll talk about different topics and things like that. And so that's the membership, which is wonderful. And it's relatively low cost because I'm really trying to make sure that it is accessible and that we have services to meet people at different pay scales and things. And then obviously doing the trauma energetics coaching. So I am doing some of that. I'm also partnering up with some other folks who are some of my colleagues who are wonderful people. And so they're going to hopefully join me and we'll do some trauma energetics coaching where we help people really focus on their bodies and get back into their bodies. And then for those folks who need more professional support, I do have therapy. So it is safe, professional therapy with social workers and psychologists. So it's really like this big, beautiful program where people can hopefully get their needs met at whatever stage they are.
Wow, you are busy. There's so much happening here that you are bringing forth into the world, all inspired because of your own experience and your own transformation.
Yes. And honestly, Jesus, and again, it's whether you believe in Jesus or some higher power or, the divine, whatever that is, like that is so important to be able to heal from abuse, especially sexual abuse, I've found, to be able to connect to that higher power. And honestly, in my life, Jesus was like, yeah, this is what your purpose is. Like, this is why you are here. And so I'm just feeling eternally blessed that I can go and live this life.
Oh, I love your story at Mount Shasta, getting a visitation and support from something totally unexpected, and that you embraced it, that you allowed yourself to be open to receiving that healing, and that you are taking on the mission
Yeah.
that you're been given here, and so beautifully as well. And it's incredibly inspirational. It's incredibly powerful to watch you get empowered yourself, but using, the somatic tools is important. Like you said, the safety is crucial. We have to feel
Yeah.
a sense of internal safety, which means we have to feel safe in our body.
Yeah.
Is something very difficult for most sexual abuse survivors. And the shame tied to the body is so challenging to work through. And I have found that the somatic and the energetic tools combined have made such a difference in a pretty quick way. It can be not easy, but we can make it simple. And if it's, in my experience, if it's simple, it's more efficient for people. And I
Right.
know that with your self-heal program, it does that exactly. It gives you some really simple steps that are really doable and excuse me, simple steps that are really doable. It's not always easy, but again, keeping it simple can make it so much more efficient and can happen pretty rapidly, like I said, especially when we bring in the energetics. So I love the vision of your wings getting bigger and embracing the whole world. Thank you so much, Asher, for showing up,
Yeah.
following the messages that you got, the inspiration that you got from divine, from spirit, from Jesus, and showing up in the world with it.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's really also important, I think, for survivors to realize that, you are going through this. There is a purpose, there is a reason, right? Like I went through all of this turmoil and chaos for years to get to this point where now I can be present and I can create this beautiful practice and company around sexual abuse so that hopefully then I can help as many people as humanly possible within my lifetime. And then hopefully leave a legacy, because honestly, I would love to see this become a movement and leave a legacy throughout the globe where people can go and they can feel safe no matter where they are.
Beautiful. Well, I'm really excited to be able to support you and collaborate with you and watch you on your journey and watch this movement that you are creating because we both have very similar missions in the world. And I want to again just honor you and thank you for sharing your story of abuse and your survivor story, and also your commitment that you made to spirit, to Jesus,
Right.
bringing in the multidimensional part of you that for me, in my experience with trauma healing, has been the most magical and powerful ingredient is that the trauma can only happen to our body.
Right.
And there is a part of us that is always okay, that cannot be harmed, has never been harmed. There's no guilt, no shame, no overwhelm in this part of us. And what we do at Trauma Energetics is help people remove the trauma that's in the body so that you can identify what you went through as an experience, but you identify as this divine, beautiful, eternal being that you truly are. So to me, trauma healing is a spiritual process. And that's really where the transformation comes. We do need to regulate and heal the wounds in the body. And as we do that, we start to access the part of us that was never harmed.
Yeah.
And then we feel whole. Then we can feel really whole and empowered. And I've watched you go through the process, Asher, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to be a colleague and friend of yours. And I'm really looking forward to watching all of your new ventures and seeing how many thousands and thousands of people it's going to help. Thank you.
So much. And thank you for this program and for all of your teaching and for sharing all of your beauty and gifts and all of the gifts that you've been given by Jesus and the divine and the higher power, because you are an incredible, incredible person. And I really, really appreciate
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Asher Beckwitt. It was been so much fun talking to you today. We're going to make sure that everyone can find you. So we will put a lot of notes in the show notes here for you to find Dr. Asher. And if you want to just let people know verbally where they can find you.
Yes. So please go to my website, which is just www.asherbeckwit, Asher, B as in boy, ECKWITT.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today. And I hope you come back and chat with me soon.
I would absolutely love to do that. Thank you.
Bye bye.